Wolf. The mix-up king with the fangs of, well, a wolf. Wolf is a great example of a boxer puncher, but it thrives mostly on quick, heavy strings of damage before moving back. It can have trouble with continuously winning interactions, but has a lot of factors to its kit that can always change its approach. In terms of its stats, Wolf is a very well-rounded style. Solid block, decent damage and chip, and pretty average dashes. Its M1s alternate from side to side upon each swing, though these swings get range checked very hard. This means that if you want to get something going, you'll have to be very close or open with your special heavy attack. Speaking of the heavy, Wolf's special gimmick is called the White Fang. By tapping or clicking your M2 button a second time after throwing your first heavy, you will throw a second from the other arm at an insane speed. The directions of both of these punches are fixed though. Your opening swing will always come from the left. However, the first Wolf heavy is actually the fastest heavy in the game. And yes, it's faster than Shotgun's Prodigy swing. The second heavy seems almost instant, but you always have to remember that this isn't a true combo. The second heavy is highly dodgeable and anybody with a semblance of knowledge about Wolf is going to move through it. However, the first major tip I want to give you is that your full White Fang, meaning both the first and second heavy swing combined, will always land if your first heavy is a counter hit. This bonus stun gives you just enough leeway to land the full string without issue. Despite the speed of the first heavy, it doesn't string into a light combo for free. As such, Wolf's punishing potential on perfect dodging is really poor. As of right now, not even the full White Fang is a guaranteed hit upon a perfect dodge, so you should always try to experiment with how to best take advantage of one of those dodges. Wolf's light swings are also speedy and are actually quite good at destroying an opponent's block. If you want to, it's possible to land a hit with the first M2 and begin a light string before following up with your White Fang at the end. This has the potential to both deal damage and set yourself up for even more later, as long as your opponent messes up within the next couple of seconds. The only issue with that is you're going to have to pay attention to their dodge so you can properly start that light string. Along with this, as you'd expect, Wolf's feints are extremely fast and can be great at catching someone totally by surprise. However, these feints not only consume a lot of stamina, but they can be so fast that people can still PD them in the same dodge. This is because sometimes the perfect dodge frames can stack on top of one another due to the speed of the swing, which can result in some unfortunate circumstances for you. As such, be sure to use a feint later into your swing rather than earlier, or this will happen to you more often than it won't. From a general standpoint, Wolf's stamina consumption is pretty heavy. It's by far the best at moving in, getting a huge chunk of damage, and moving out. Be sure to practice your spacing and whiff punishing skills so you can be sure to attack for that string since you need it. Unfortunately though, like I said before, Wolf gets stat checked hard when it comes to the range of its M1 swings. It can sometimes very brutally miss swings at really close ranges. Ironically, this range isn't below average, but it's definitely lower on the spectrum of swing ranges, so connecting with an opponent is going to require you to be a lot closer than usual. When you are close, you might find a lot of instances where someone dodges your first M2 swing but doesn't go the right way. If this is the case, there's a very high chance your White Fang attack will still land due to its speed and the end lag of their dash. This can give you a massive advantage against styles that have obviously weaker dashes, like Bullet or Hammer for example. Your second M2 deals full anti-heal, so having that land is sometimes preferable to your first hitting to secure that damage. Speaking of damage, as I'm sure you've surmised by now, Wolf is one of the few styles that can actually benefit a lot from using an ultimate earlier than normal. Due to this mix-up and velocity of those two heavy attacks, you may find it a lot easier than normal to get rid of all that health in an instant. While this obviously has its own level of risk, the reward is potentially massive, so keep this in mind for later. Since Wolf gets so little off of perfect dodges, and because its range is generally poor, you'll have to focus a lot on counterpunching and relying on your swing speed. Since your counter M2 gives you a White Fang attack for free, that's usually going to be your biggest way of keeping damage in your favor. If you use a light string attack, make sure you save some stamina at the end of it so you have a chance to follow up with your M2 and keep it going. As said before, Wolf consumes a lot of stamina with very little movement, so every attack you swing is going to mean a lot. Now again, Wolf's biggest advantage in a match is how often it's able to mix things up. Every time you start an attack or land an M2 first, the variety of attacks you can do widens out. While your first M2 doesn't get you your White Fang for free, it does instantly give you several choices you can make. At any point during that string, you can M2 or White Fang to surprise attack anybody who was just sitting there holding block and not paying attention. The White Fang itself is great at block breaking, which can also lead to big damage if you let yourself recharge enough stamina to White Fang them a second time. As another side tip, Wolf generally lacks major end lag. You can swing your M2 and move very quickly as of right now, and your dashes are good enough to let you double dash and escape tough situations. Wolf's speed is a very undermined aspect of its kit. You don't want to forget just how fast you can attack people if they aren't ready for you. Wolf also kind of lacks a major glowing weak point. Its ultimate usefulness in a game depends a lot on the user. While it can be hard to learn at first, understanding all of the tips and tricks will very quickly look like the style is very high tier. Don't get cocky if you have a good game or two though. Bumping into someone who knows how to deal with Wolf can cause you to fall behind really fast. If this happens, focus more on M1ing than using your White Fang. That way, your mix-up will come from when you actually do decide to throw your heavy attack. Everything you have is in how smart you're willing to be to throw someone off course. Hey guys, just jumping in with one more thing at the end here really quick. Again, I realized mid-edit I forgot something. I'm an absolute genius. I'm just the best content creator. Anyway, I forgot about an ancient technique that's being used with Wolf, where if you M2, if you use the first M2 from a distance, and then forward dash and M2 again immediately, you can use your second white Fang instantly instead of just using the M2 again. The timing for it is very specific, but it's similar to Ippo's forward dash Dempsey roll tech, where you can have a very sudden burst of movement, and since that M2 is almost instant, it can give you a really great surprise attack for a good bonus edge if you're having a hard time being close range in a fight. So, overall, Wolf is a mix-up heavy style with no obvious weakness and a very unique skill. Having two unique heavy swings is not a common occurrence, and therefore can be very scary to fight against if a seasoned player decides to use it. Wolf only breaks down if the user does. Doing the same thing over and over will make it very easy to get you onto the mat. In the end, focus on your mix-up, your speed advantage, and catching opponents' poor dashing, and Wolf will feel surprisingly strong. Along with all this, a friend of mine has actually put together a very detailed guide in a Google Doc on just how to use Wolf's most advanced setups. This is more of a beginner guide if anything here, so if you feel like I've missed something or want to know more about Wolf, feel free to check it out. The link for it will be down in the description. Credit for that goes to everyone who made that doc, and that's actually not me this time. With this mix-up filled guide, now complete by me, Dave Pyramid, I'm sure you'll be unleashing white fangs left and right. I'll catch you on the flip side, and I hope you learned something. Peace!
Let me break it down for you, Mark.